How are you, Gabrielle? It is so good to see you.
You needn't shout, dear. It's Wednesday. I hear perfectly fine on Wednesdays.
It's Thursday. Come on, baby. Come on, darling. And stop that barking. What a racket you're making.
Ladies, sit down, please. We have got to make a decision today, which may alter the fate of the world.
Couldn't we do it tomorrow? I want to wash my slippers.
We haven't a moment to waste.
Well, go ahead, dear. We're listening. What is it, Dickie? You want to sit in Aunt Aurelia's lap? All right, then. Come on, darling.
Constance, please, we love you, as you know, and we love Dickie too, but this is far too serious a matter. So let's stop being childish for once.
And what does that mean, if you please?
Well, it means Dickie. You know that we love him and fuss over him just as if he were still alive. He's a sacred memory. And we wouldn't hurt his feelings for the world, but please don't plump him in my lap when I'm settling the future of mankind. His basket is in the corner. He knows where it is, and he can just go and sit in it.
So you're against Dickie, too?
Constance, dear, I'll take Dickie in my lap. He knows to sit in my lap. Come here, Dickie.
Kindly stop putting on angelic airs, Gabrielle. I know you very well. You are too sweet to be sincere. There are plenty of times that I make believe that Dickie is here when really I've left him at home. And you cuddle and pet him just the same.
Well, I adore animals.
If you adore animals, you shouldn't pet them when they're not there. It's a form of hypocrisy.
Now, Constance, Gabrielle has as much right as you.
Gabrielle has no right to do the things she does. Do you know what she does? She invites people to come to tea with us. People whom we know nothing about. People who exist only in her imagination.
You think that's not an existence?
I don't invite them at all. They come by themselves. What can I do?
You might introduce us.
But if you think they're imaginary, then what do you want to meet them for?
Well, of course they're imaginary, but who likes to be stared at by imaginary people? Especially strangers.
They're really very nice.
Gabrielle, are they here now?
Am I to be allowed to speak? Or is this going to be the same as the argument about inoculating Josephine's cat when we didn't get to the subject at all?
Never, never, never. I will never consent to a thing like that. I would never do something like that to you, Dickie, sweet.
Heavens, now she's in tears. What an impossible creature. Everything will be spoiled because of her. All right. Constance, stop crying. I'll take him in my lap.
No, he won't go now. Oh, how could you be so cruel? Don't you suppose I know about Dickie? Don't you think I would rather he were here, alive and woolly and frisking about the way he used to?
Now let's not get excited over nothing at all. I'll take him in my lap. Come here, Dickie.
No, he doesn't want to. And anyway, I didn't bring him today.
I'll make sure the door is locked.
What do you mean? Why not? Who's coming?
Well, you'd know by now if you'd let me get a word in. A horrible thing has happened. This very morning, exactly at noon.
Oh, how exciting!
Be quiet! This very morning, exactly at noon, I discovered a terrible plot. There is a group of men who want to destroy the whole city.
Is that all?
I don't understand, Aurelia. Why would men want to destroy the city when it was they themselves that put it up?
Well, there are people in this world who want to destroy everything. They have the fever of destruction. Even when they pretend that they're building, it's only in order to destroy. When they put up one building, they quietly knock down two old ones. They build cities in order to destroy the countryside. They destroyed space with telephones and time with airplanes. Humanity is now dedicated to the task of universal demolition. I speak, of course, primarily of the male sex.
Gabrielle, why don't you talk sex about Gabrielle?
After all, there are two sexes.
Gabrielle is a virgin.
Oh, she can't be that innocent. She keeps canaries.
I think think it's perfectly cruel how you talk about men, Aurelia. Men are big and beautiful and loyal as dogs. I prefer not to marry, it's true, but I've had excellent opportunity to observe them from friends who've had occasion to sport them.
My poor darling, you're still living in a dream. But one day you will wake up as I have, and you'll see what is happening in the world. The tide has turned. Men are changing back into beasts. Why, I remember a time when the hungriest man was the one who took the longest to pick up his fork. The one who put on the broadest grin was the one who needed most to go to the bathroom. I remember. It was such fun to keep them grinning like that for hours. But now they no longer pretend. Just look at them, snuffling their soup like pigs, tearing their meat like tigers, crunching their lettuce like crocodiles. A man doesn't take your hand nowadays. He gives you his paw.
Would that bother you so much if they did turn into animals? Personally, I think it's a good idea.
I should like to see them that way. They'd be sweet.
It could be the salvation of the human race.
You'd make a fine rabbit, wouldn't you?
Ah.
Naturally. You don't think it's only the men who are changing. You change right along with them. Husbands and wives together.
Then why would my husband have to be a rabbit if he were alive?
Remember his front teeth when he nibbled his celery?
I remember I had to say absolutely nothing about him. All I remember is when Father Lacordaire tried to kiss me in the park.
Oh, yes, yes, of course.
And what does that mean, if you please? Oh, yes, yes, of course.
Constance, look us in the eye and tell us truly, did that really happen? Or did you read about it in a book?
Now I'm being insulted.
Oh, we promise faithfully to believe it all over again afterwards, won't we, Gabrielle? But just tell us the truth, this once.
How dare you question my memories? Suppose I were to say your pearls were false.
They were.
I'm not asking what they were. I'm asking what they are. Are they false or are they real?
Well, everyone knows that when you wear pearls, little by little they become real.
Isn't it the same with memories?
Now, I haven't a moment to waste. Let's go on.
Furthermore, I think Gabrielle is perfectly right about men. There are still plenty of men who haven't changed a bit. There's an old senator who bows to Gabrielle every day when he walks past her in front of the palace, and he takes off his hat each time.
It's perfectly true. He's always pushing an empty baby carriage, and he always stops and bows.
Don't be taken in, Gabrielle. It's all the make-believe. I warn you, Gabrielle, don't be taken in by this senator with the empty baby carriage and let him pull the wool over your eyes.
He's the very soul of courtesy. He's very correct.
Believe me, those are the worst ones. Gabrielle, beware. He'll make you put on black riding boots while he dances the can-can around you, singing God knows what filth at the top of his voice. The very thought makes one's blood run cold.
You really think that's what he has in mind?
Men have lost all sense of decency. Besides, they're disgusting. Look at them, sitting away at their tables in the cafes, working away in unison with their toothpicks, hour after hour, digging up roast beef, veal, onion.
They don't harm anyone that way.
Then why do you barricade your door and make your friends meow before you let them come up? Incidentally, Gabrielle and I must make a charming sight, meowing like tomcats at your doorstep.
There's no need whatever for you to yowl together. One would be quite enough. And you know perfectly well why. It's because there are murderers.
Well, I don't quite see what prevents murderers from meowing like anyone else. But why are there murderers?
Why? Because there are thieves.
And why are there thieves? Why is there practically nothing but thieves?
Because they worship money. Because money is king.
Ah! Now we've come to it. Because we live in the reign of the golden calf. Did you realize that, Gabrielle? Men now publicly worship the golden calf.
Oh, how awful! Has anyone notified the authorities?
The authorities do it themselves.
Oh, has anyone talked to the bishop?
Nowadays, only money talks to the bishop. And so you see why I've asked you to come here today. Unless we do something, humanity is doomed.
Oh.
Have you any suggestions, Constance?
I know what I always do in a case like this.
You write to the Prime Minister.
He always does what I tell him.
And does he ever answer your letters?
He knows I prefer he doesn't. It could excite gossip.
Have you any suggestions, Gabrielle?
Now, how can she tell you until she's consulted her voices?
Oh, I can go home right now and talk with them if you'd like, and we can meet again after dinner.
There isn't time for that. Besides, in my opinion, your voices aren't real voices at all.
How dare you speak to me like that?
Well, where do your voices come from? Still from your sewing machine?
Not at all. They passed into my hot water bottle. It's much nicer that way. They don't chatter anymore, they gurgle. Although, last night they haven't been a bit nice to me lately. Last night, they kept gurgling at me to let my canaries out. Let them out. Let them out. Let them out.
Well, did you?
Well, I opened the cage, but they wouldn't go.
I don't call that voices. Objects talk, everyone knows that. It's the principle of the phonograph. But to ask a hot water bottle for advice is silly. What does a hot water bottle know? No, my dear. All we have to consult here is our own judgment.
Well, then tell us what you've decided. Since you've asked our opinion, you've doubtless made up your own mind.
Yes, I thought the whole thing through. All I really needed to know was the source of the infection. Today, I found it.
Where?
You'll see. I've baited a trap. In just a few minutes, the rats will be here. Oh, don't worry. They're still human.
Oh, heavens, what are you going to do with them?
It's a secret.
Well, do you want to kill him?
Well, that's just the question. Suppose I invited all these wicked men here at once to my cellar. Have I the right to exterminate them?
I don't know about killing them.
Better ask Father Bidet.
Oh, I have. Oh, yes. One day in confession, I told him quite frankly that I had a secret desire to destroy all wicked people. He said, "By all means, my child. And when you're ready to go into action, I'll lend you the jawbone of an ass."
That's just talk. You get him to put that in writing.
What are your schemes, Aurelia?
That's a secret.
It won't be so easy to kill them. Suppose you have a tank full of burning oil all ready for them. You couldn't get them to walk into it. There's nothing so stubborn as a man when you want him to do something.
That, to me.
But if they're killed, won't they be missed? And then we'll be fined. They fine you for everything.
Do you miss a cold when it's gone? When the world feels well again, do you think it will regret its illness? No! It will stretch itself and smile. And that's all.
Just a moment. Gabrielle, are they here? Yes or no?
What is the matter with you now?
I'm simply asking Gabrielle if her friends are in the room or not. I have a right to know.
I'm not allowed to say.
I know perfectly well they are here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be making faces.
May I ask what difference it makes to you whether her friends are in the room?
Just this. If they are here, I'm not going to say another word. I'm certainly not going to commit myself in matters involving the death penalty with third parties in the room, whether they exist or not.
You're not being very nice to my guests, Constance.
Aurelia, you know perfectly well.
I know perfectly well that at this very moment, the entire universe is listening to us. And every word we say echoes to the remotest star.
Yeah.